Have you ever been there? Part of some big project where a brilliant, well-intentioned solution gets rolled out, only to completely backfire. Or worse, it somehow makes the original problem even bigger. It's incredibly frustrating, right? And it happens all the time, in our jobs, in our communities, even in our own lives. So what's the deal? Why do our best laid plans just fall apart when we're trying to tackle these really big, messy, complicated challenges? There's actually a name for them: wicked problems. And boy, do they have a nasty habit of resisting those simple, easy fixes.
Let's make this real with a classic example. Picture a highway that's always jammed. The logical, super obvious solution seems to be, hey, let's add more lanes. But what almost always happens next? Well, all those new lanes actually attract more drivers. It's a thing called induced demand, and before you know it, the traffic is just as bad, if not worse than before.
Now, here's the kicker. The problem wasn't the extra lane itself. Nope. The real problem was the thinking that led to it. We were so busy treating a symptom, the traffic jam, that we never stopped to understand the deeper system driving it. And that's the big takeaway here. To solve complex problems, we first have to upgrade the way we see them.
This brings us right to the default way most of us are taught to think, and exactly why it so often falls short when things get complicated.
So this default mode, it's called reductionist thinking. It's the basic idea that if you want to understand something big and complex, you just have to take it apart, look at all the little pieces, and figure out how each one works on its own. It's a powerful idea we inherited from the scientific and industrial revolutions. And let's be clear, this way of thinking is fantastic for certain kinds of problems. I mean, if a clock stops working, what do? You open it up, you find the one broken gear, you replace it, and voila, the clock works again. In this case, the whole really is just the sum of its parts. Simple. But what about something like a rainforest, or a national economy, or even your company's culture? These things are not like clocks. The parts, the people, the policies, the market forces, they're all tangled together in this dynamic web. If you try to fix one part in isolation, you're almost guaranteed to create some weird unintended consequence somewhere else in the system. This table really lays it all out. The two completely different worldviews. On one side, you've got the old-school reductionist way, which sees the world as a machine, like clockwork. It focuses on isolated parts and simple linear cause and effect. But on the other side, you have the systems thinking paradigm. It sees the world as a living organism, and its focus is all on the relationships, the interactions, and the circular feedback loops that are really driving everything. Okay, so if reductionism is the problem, what's the solution? Well, this brings us to a whole new mindset, the art of actually seeing the whole system. And that antidote is systems thinking. It is a fundamental shift in perspective. It's like putting on a new pair of glasses. It trains us to stop staring at isolated things and start seeing the web of connections, the hidden patterns, and the whole picture that emerges from all those interactions. This quote really gets right to the heart of it. A system is more than the sum of its parts. The real magic, the secret sauce, is in the connections. Think about a championship sports team. It's not just a random collection of star athletes, right? It's the chemistry, the trust, the way they anticipate each other's moves. It's the connections that produce the wins. All right, let's get practical. Let's pop the hood and see how these systems actually operate. There are a few core ideas we really need to get our heads around. Okay, 3 big ideas. First up is interconnectedness. Just think of a spider's web. You touch one tiny strand and the entire structure shivers in response. Second, we have feedback loops. These are the engines that drive a system's behavior. And third, there's emergence. This is the wild idea that really complex, intelligent behavior can arise from very simple interactions. Kind of like how an ant colony can build an incredible nest that no single ant could ever dream of. So let's zoom in on that first type of feedback loop. A balancing loop is all about stability. It's the force in a system that acts like a brake pedal, always pushing back against change, trying to keep things steady and on target. The absolute perfect analogy is the thermostat in your house.
We all know how this works, right? If the room gets too cold, the heat kicks on. If it gets too hot, it shuts off. Its entire job is to counteract change and keep the room stable, right around that temperature you set. Now, the second type of loop is the polar opposite. It's the gas pedal. A reinforcing loop is an amplifier. It creates a snowball effect where a little bit of change in one direction leads to even more change in that same direction. This is what causes things to grow exponentially or collapse. We've all heard this, right? That ear-splitting sound when a microphone gets too close to a speaker. A tiny little sound from the room gets picked up, amplified, and blasted out. The mic picks up that amplified sound, amplifies it again, and suddenly you have that deafening squeal. That is a reinforcing loop in action, a total runaway amplifying cycle. Now that we've got the building blocks, how do we actually apply this stuff in the real world? Well, one of the most powerful tools out there is something called the Iceberg model. It's a brilliant way to help us see what's really going on beneath the surface of any problem. Just like a real iceberg, what we see is only the tiny tip. Above the water are the events. That's the daily drama, the symptom we're always reacting to. But just below the surface, you start to see patterns or trends over time. Go even deeper, and you find the structures, the rules, the roles, the way things are organized that cause those patterns. And way down at the bottom, the very foundation, are the mental models, the deeply held beliefs and assumptions that keep the whole system locked in place. And here's why this is so important. Just reacting to events up at the top, that's low leverage. You're just fighting fires all day long. The real, lasting change, the kind of change that defines great leadership, that happens when you go deeper. When you redesign the structures or shift the underlying mental models, you solve the problem at its root, for good. So let's bring this all home. This isn't just some academic theory. This is a practical, powerful new way of thinking. You could even call it a superpower that can literally change how you approach every single challenge you face. Because ultimately, systems thinking isn't a tool you just pick up and use, it's a mindset you cultivate. It's a commitment to staying curious, to always zooming out to see the bigger picture, and, maybe most importantly, having the discipline to resist the temptation of those quick, easy answers. I absolutely love this quote from Donella Meadows, who was a true pioneer in this field. It's such a beautiful reminder that our goal isn't to dominate or control these complex systems like they're machines. The goal is to develop a feel for their rhythm, their flow, and to learn how to move with them, to dance with them, gracefully and effectively. So, I'll leave you with a question to take with you. Think about a persistent, nagging, frustrating problem in your work or your life. Now ask yourself, what might be the invisible structure, the hidden rule, the unspoken assumption, the feedback loop that's secretly holding that problem in place? Start looking there, because that's where you'll find the key.